What's up, everybody? I'm Jimmy Selesky. You're watching live from the studio. And it's been a little while since we've done what is actually one of my favorite segments we have on this show, entitled This Week in Female Cap, which is, of course, when we go through the plethora of examples of women just capping. Just capping. And I could, if I wanted to, have done an entire episode alone on a shirt that I saw over the weekend. One of the girls that I follow on Instagram posted a shirt, and I've seen this elsewhere as well. It seems to have become a slogan that's they're trying to make pop off. And she was wearing a shirt that said, "Everyone watches women's sports." To which I thought, do they? Do they? Could you perhaps be capping? And of course, I would never say that. I happen to know for a fact that she doesn't watch women's sports. And when I say I know that for a fact, I don't actually know it for a fact. I know it for a fact. Regardless, I agree with the sentiment. I, much like everyone else in the country at least, have been more abreast of what's going, no pun intended, of what's going on in the WNBA and women's college basketball than I've ever been in the past. Just through osmosis. You're just hearing about it on regular television, and that is a real thing. And so does everyone watch women's sports? No. Do women watch women's sports? No. But more people are watching women's sports. And I don't even watch all men's sports either. So this isn't even a sexist thing. That's like, to me, that was like her wearing a shirt that says everyone watches hockey. And I'm like, correction. Anyway, the reason I want to do the episode today is not to debate whether or not every person on the planet watches women's sports. It's actually to discuss a particular woman in women's sports that has found her way back in the headlines over this past weekend. And that woman, you've probably heard of her, Miss Caitlin Clark. Now, Caitlin Clark is the number one career scorer of all time in Division I basketball. That's men's and women's. She broke the career scoring record for 4 years of college. She broke Pistol Pete Maravich's longstanding record in Division I men's basketball. And she also holds the single season scoring record. I don't know for men and women, but at least for women. But I want to say both. She's dominated women's basketball, and she is now in the WNBA. Last time we really heard a lot about her was when she got her rookie contract for something like $70,000 for her first season. And everyone was saying, wow, she literally got like a 9-to-5 salary. And of course, this was the first time anybody had ever paid attention to the salary of a WNBA player. And so when they found out that the number one draft pick gets $70,000 in their rookie year, they were surprised to see this, given that other players in the NBA, for instance, Victor Wembanyama, the most recent rookie draft pick from last year, in the men's league, received something like multiple millions of dollars. Now, of course, once you apply any level of math and common sense, you quickly understand why this is the case. And we did touch upon that on a previous episode of this show a couple times, I believe. We did the wage gap myth, where I talked about Caitlin Clark's rookie contract. We also discussed the Women's World Cup national team, why they were paid less, and a whole bunch of other examples of this great debate in American society when we're just convinced. We're just convinced that women make less than men for the same work, bringing the same value, and it's just because they're chicks, and there's that's it. And that, of course, is not true. That is a great example of female cap, actually, since we're on the subject. But anyway, this weekend, Caitlin Clark was the victim of a flagrant personal foul from the likes of none other than Miss Chennedy Carter. I'm sorry, what was that? Oh, it's pronounced Kennedy? Oh, okay. Miss Chennedy Carter. The H is silent, I guess. So Caitlin Clark literally just got done playing in her senior season at Iowa like 2 months ago. And she is already actively playing in the WNBA as of like a month ago. So she basically got like a 1 month break between college and going pro. She's on the Indiana Fever, which, again, for anybody who understands how draft classes work, she was the number 1 overall pick. The teams who perform the worst in the season get higher picks. So essentially, the worst team in the league gets to pick the top prospects out of the incoming draft class. So Caitlin Clark was immediately drafted by, I guess, the worst team in the WNBA as of last season, or one of them. They are not doing so hot this year as well. Caitlin Clark is doing well, but the team itself is not. I believe they started with a very long dry streak of no wins or something like that. Don't quote me on this. Who knows? I believe they're not doing well. However, the incident in question with Miss Chennedy Carter took place over the weekend. Now, Miss Carter, Miss Carter, plays for the Chicago Sky. She also happens to be teammates with Miss Angel Reese, and that name may sound familiar to you as well because Angel Reese is Caitlin Clark's most notorious rival. Angel Reese played for LSU in college. She also just finished her college career this past season and also just got drafted into the WNBA, where she is now playing. We're going to go back and recap that rivalry and all the controversy that spurred out of those incidents and the taunting and the back and forth and blah, 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 blah. But first, I bring up Angel Reese because she is also teammates with Miss Chennedy Carter on the Chicago Sky. So she is actually going to be present in this clip as well, although not the perpetrator. So let's pull up this clip. This is the Chicago Sky playing the Indiana Fever.
Mabry doubled off to Carter. Her jumper is good. Chennedy Carter now with 12 points off the bench. And then the lay from Boston as the.
So you see the foul there. They're going to do a replay. You see a better angle.
Just transpired between Carter and Clark.
Just Caitlin Clark is waiting to be inbounded the ball. The ball isn't even inbounded yet.
A foul,
and Carter just blindsides her from the back. And this angle, you can literally see her saying
I think
bitch.
That's going to be a flagrant one, and Clark goes to the line and hits the first. They called it away from the ball foul because it happened prior to the inbound. So then anybody can shoot the free throw. Of course, Indiana would have Clark as a great.
So that was called a off-ball foul or whatever it's called. It wasn't deemed to be a flagrant foul, which is a different level of foul in basketball where it was an egregious, completely unsportsmanlike and unnecessary foul, which clearly that was. You have Caitlin Clark waiting to be inbounded the ball, and then Chennedy Carter just from behind just hip checks her onto the ground. And you can blatantly see her from the front angle right beforehand screaming, bitch, which I will show you that again. And then we'll dive into why I bring up Angel Reese in here as well.
I mean, that's clearly a foul.
Right here. So just,
the question is,
bitch!
will they call it
boom!
Unnecessary?
Just completely unnecessary.
I think that's going to...
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that foul has since been retroactively deemed a flagrant foul. So the officials or whoever does this went back, reviewed it, and was like, yeah, that was definitely a flagrant. We don't know why the ref didn't call it a flagrant. Now, depending on the level, it would result in an ejection from the game, perhaps a fine. Who knows? There's all kinds of different levels of this stuff that can be up to the league and the officials' discretion. But the fact that this was just deemed an incidental, regular off-ball foul is obviously ridiculous. I'm not mad about it. I'm just pointing out the facts and letting you see for yourself and discussing the context of this conversation that we're going to delve deeper into. Now, I bring up Angel Reese as well because she is actually on the bench at this time, and you can see her immediately after this jump up in celebration of this hit. She's very stoked about this.
Her jumper is good.
So there's Angel Reese right here. And now she's, hell yeah. Let's go, baby.
And the lay from Boston.
Hell yeah.
With 12 points off the bench. Is good. Chennedy Carter now with
boom,
12
yes.
points off the bench.
Yes. She jumps, jumping out of her seat. Jumping out of her seat for that one. She loved that. So there's your background context of what happened over the weekend. You have Chennedy Carter, who, might I also add, is notorious for this type of behavior. She's been cut from teams in the past. She was cut from a team back in 2021 for trying to fight one of her own teammates. She was also released from, I believe, a different team just for her conduct. And now she's at it again on the Chicago Sky. So this is not necessarily uncharacteristic behavior from Chennedy Carter. And it's also not uncharacteristic behavior from Angel Reese. Angel Reese is the one teammate on the bench, it appears, that was overflowing with emotion, overflowing with excitement at Caitlin Clark being blindsided to the ground by her teammate, clapping. She believed it deserved a standing ovation. And before we get into the Angel Reese conversation, which has been far more ongoing, prior to this weekend, it was the conversation. I believe it continues to be so. But before we get into Angel Reese, just to close out the story on Chennedy Carter so far, Chennedy Carter has doubled down on this repeatedly. So immediately following this game, Caitlin Clark was interviewed on the court and in the press conference after for her response to this, as was Chennedy Carter. And so let's just take a brief look at both of their responses. This is Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, that's just not a basketball play, but, got to play through it. That's what basketball's about at this level.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, but I think it's just just respond, come down, let your play do the talking. It is what it is. It's a physical game. Go make the free throw and then execute on offense. And I feel like that's kind of what we did, but, it is what it is, I guess. I don't know.
Melissa, you said and that's Caitlin Clark's response. And that is a characteristic Caitlin Clark response. I have not personally ever seen her in an interview, whether post-game, pre-game, somebody's podcast, ESPN, whatever. I've never seen her escalate things. I've never seen her add fuel to the fire or address things on a personal level. I've never even seen her even entertain the idea that something is bigger than just players being players, In an incident like that, anybody can see that was not a standard basketball. She says that's the furthest she goes. She says, look, that's just not a basketball play. And she's correct. It's not. But Caitlin Clark has never been one to be like, she's disrespecting me. She's targeting me, blah, 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 blah. And that is kind of the reality that we're going to dive into in a moment. Caitlin Clark is never going to say that because of the position she's in and because of who she is. So there are people that are going to kind of say it for her, including myself, and we will. But in the meantime, this is Chennedy Carter's response to this.
After the Fever
I
score,
didn't answer no Caitlin Clark questions.
did she say anything to you?
I don't know what she said.
What'd you say to her?
I didn't say anything.
That's enough.
So look at the difference in demeanor between these two people. On one end, you have Caitlin Clark, who was the one cheap-shotted and blindsided, knocked to the ground. And she's there like, look, it's that's in the game. It's in the game. It's basketball, baby. You know, we're out here being competitive. That wasn't a basketball type play. But you know what? You just got to move on, blah, blah, blah. She's being chill about it. She's the one that should not be chill about it. If anything, the person who does it should be like, look, man, I'm just out here playing basketball. I ain't mean anything by it. We're out here trying to compete. You know, we just got to move on. And then the person who got hit is like, I don't know what the hell that was about. What was that for? This is the reverse. So you have the person who got blindsided, knocked to the ground completely unnecessarily. Everybody saw it. Everyone agreed it was bullshit. And she's in there going, look, man, it's just basketball. That's how it goes. It's in the game. It's in the game. Like, that's Caitlin Clark. Just whatever, man. Moving on. I don't think anything of this kind of stuff. Then you have the person who actually did it, who should be, you would think, apologetic or, hey, I didn't mean to do that. You know, that would be what you'd kind of expect, right? At least I didn't mean it to be like that. That wasn't what I was going for. I hit her harder than I thought I was. I didn't know my own strength, you know, flexing, whatever. Like that kind of thing where you're trying to play off the idea that it was actually intentional. And she doesn't even feel the need to do that. She comes out and goes, I ain't answering none of those questions. What did she say to me? I don't even know. What did I say to her? Nothing. Yeah, you did. First of all, you maybe don't know what she said to you because she was flying across the court on the ground. But at the very least, don't you think, Chennedy, that it would be something to address? And the fact that you don't feel the need to even acknowledge what that was or to even downplay it shows that you're in a position of complete, for whatever reason, you feel justified in doing that, and you feel as if anybody who has a problem with it is in the wrong. And we talk all the time about how taking isolated incidents and using them to depict a person's entire character or create an entire narrative off of isolated incidents is unfair. I don't like it when people do it to people I agree with, and that's why I don't like doing it to people that maybe I don't agree with. But like we discussed in the Bill Maher episode, when you have several incidents that all start to demonstrate a pattern, then each isolated incident is just another sprinkle on the ice cream cone. It's not the basis of my observation. It is one of the many examples that prove my observation. So, okay, so far we saw an obviously flagrant foul from Chennedy Carter on Caitlin Clark. Then we saw a situation where Caitlin Clark, the person who should be angry in this situation, is actually the nonchalant and humble one. And oddly enough, the person who should be apologetic and contrite about the situation is sitting there in a position like, you're an idiot for even talking to me about it. I'm not even going to respond to it. Okay, that's one. Okay, so that's two examples. You do something unnecessary and unsportsmanlike, and then you handle it after the fact in an equally unnecessary and unsportsmanlike fashion. But now we have even more examples. She goes on Instagram Threads and responds to criticism about how she's handling this and what she did. And Chennedy Carter writes in this thread, and I quote, "Beside three-point shooting, what does she bring to the table, man?" Referring to Caitlin Clark. I don't know if she included the laughing emoji or if the person making this tweet put the laughing emoji there. Doesn't matter. The content is there regardless. So Chennedy Carter, after all this and in the midst of all this, takes to Instagram Threads, which I guess she might be one of the few people on the planet that ever has taken to Instagram Threads. But she takes to that and she doubles, triples down at this point and basically further solidifies that this obviously was intentional. This was obviously motivated. This was more than just a basketball play. This was more than an incidental foul. There was like deep-seated emotion behind that. Besides three-point shooting, what does she bring to the table? She brings the table. Sure, she brings being the best scorer in college history, both in terms of season stats and career stats. She leads in several other categories that aren't all to do with scoring alone or three-pointers. She has three-point records, but she also has general scoring records. She also leads the Big Ten all-time assists record, which is not a scoring, that's assists, that's a whole other category. And interestingly enough, I believe she beats Chennedy Carter in virtually every stat this season, not just points, but rebounds per game, assists per game. If not, she at least had more in that particular game that we just watched. But again, I'm pretty sure it is the case that Caitlin Clark is just an all-around better basketball player than Chennedy Carter, both on the court and on paper. This is undeniable, and that, I guess, pisses Chennedy Carter off. But the level of pettiness you have to stoop to ask, what does she bring to the table? Again, she brings all those things to the table that I just listed, more so than you, but she also brings the table. Because when people say things like everyone watches women's sports, they are tapping into a real thing, which is that people are starting to pay attention, and it's because of Caitlin Clark. It's because of her. It's not because of you, Kennedy. I mean, it is technically because of you at this very moment, Kennedy, but it's not why people care in the first place. If you had done that to some other player, this wouldn't be headline news. So the only reason people even know your name is because you happened to do what you do to a person that people are paying attention to. They're now taking charter flights to games, the WNBA teams, as opposed to flying like commercial like I do to go see my friend in LA. People are starting to discuss whether or not they should be paid more. The league is objectively bringing in new revenue. This may be the first season in WNBA history, and this is a real stat. The WNBA has never profited in a season. Not once. Literally not once in history. The WNBA has never made money. It's lost money every year since its inception. And this may very well be the first year where that might not be the case. Now, it probably definitely wouldn't be the case if they didn't decide to splurge on charter flights for the games. So that might still leave them in the negative. The WNBA is entirely subsidized by the NBA. The WNBA exists and continues to be able to fund itself and pay their players anything at all because people watch the NBA. That is the true reality. That is the actual reality. You might not like the sound of it, but it is the case. It just is the case. You know, when you have a business that makes negative money, like I said before, you should be happy that you're getting paid at all. You know, I play music for a living, and if I walk into a bar and lose them money every time I play there, I'm not going to demand to get paid more, and I'm probably not even going to expect to be paid at all or for them to book me again, because why would a business pay me to make negative money? So the reason WNBA players even get a salary is not because their league makes money to fund their salaries. It's because the NBA subsidizes them and is able to pay them money to play in a league that loses money. That's the truth. And this may be the first year, because of Caitlin Clark, that is not the case, where the WNBA can actually stand to claim that they are a profitable league. That is groundbreaking. And yet there is so much pettiness. It's literally just pettiness. And unfortunately, and I'm sorry to say this, but it is so on brand for women. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll just say this. I like women. I've only ever dated women. So one could say, I love women. I have loved women. I continue to do so. I have no issue with women. There are plenty of observations I could make about men and things they do and their shortcomings, and we talk about that a lot on this show. But I'll just say this. The fact that a woman has come into this sport and brought eyes to the game, brought attention to women's basketball in a way that has never been seen in the history of women's basketball, or really pretty much women's sports in general. The fact that the women's college basketball tournament, the March Madness tournament, had viewership that rivaled the viewership of the men's games. The fact that people actually are even aware of like the name of a single WNBA team, much less players in the league, individual players. And the fact that this can undeniably be attributed in vastly majority part to Caitlin Clark and her performance. And the idea that when you go on Twitter or when you listen to certain commentators that happen to be women and certain players in the league that are women, obviously, and a very large sentiment from a lot of people is that she's being too pumped up. She's getting too much credit. There's not enough credit going. Let's not go crazy with how good she is. The fact that a woman is being dragged down by other women is not good for the brand, ladies. It's not. I would love for it to be the case that the next time some other sexist asshole is at a party or at a bar and says something so insane, like some women tend to, drag other women down in front of me, I would love to be able to say, dude, you are just wrong. That is a completely unfounded and unbased stereotype, sir. I would love to be able to say that. But instead, if this hypothetical sexist douchebag at a cookout said something so egregious as, I don't know, dude. I feel like women are kind of catty to each other sometimes. And I just have to sit there. Not because I want to, but because you made me, ladies. You're not giving me anything to work with. I have to sit there and go, I mean, look what they're doing to Caitlin Clark. It's just a little on brand. I didn't make it that way. I'm just pointing it out. But Angel Reese is really the bigger part of this conversation, I think, because for those of you that remember, we spent a large majority of 2023, last year, discussing this horrible racist double standard in media coverage between Caitlin Clark's alleged taunting and Angel Reese's alleged taunting. So Caitlin Clark's signature move is the John Cena, you can't see me. She didn't invent it. You walk up to any white trash guy and hit him with this. As Shane Gillis says, you walk up to any Down syndrome guy and hit him with this. They're losing their mind. They love it. They love it. You can't see me. Anybody who you think would like professional wrestling. And it's become such a big thing. You just do this all day. Athletes do it all the time. It's sick. It's great. It's easy. It's fun. You can't even see me, dude. You literally can't even see me. I'm doing it right now. My videos get no views. You can see me. You just choose not to. Anyway, so Caitlin Clark, in one instance, did this after hitting like her 80th three in like a minute or something and had like a record-breaking single game scoring thing or whatever. And this happened to be against Louisville, And I believe a girl who used to be one of her roommates at some point, I don't know when, Haley Van Lith, who plays on Louisville. This alleged incident took place where Caitlin Clark supposedly was directing a "you can't see me" in the face of Haley Van Lith. So unfortunately, there's not really good footage of this. So I'm just going to play you the best one I could find, which is a YouTube short, which is really annoying, and I'm sorry. With music under it. So that's her just hitting a real quick, boom, we'll watch it again. Just, you can't see me. And it looks like she's looking at someone, but it's like, you can't tell. There's Haley Van Lith with the pigtails, nice. So you see her doing that, and then Haley Van Lith just happens to make it into the, so there's her in the background. So that's Caitlin Clark's thing. She does it. Now, this is actually Haley's response to this because the media went wild with this, particularly after this Angel Reese incident, which we're going to get to in a second. But this was Haley Van Lith, the girl who was wearing pigtails in the video, the blonde chick, responding to the media frenzy saying that, hey, Caitlin Clark is out here taunting people and being egregious and unsportsmanlike as well. So we don't understand this backlash. I mean, we do understand the backlash to Angel Reese, but, we're not going to say. So this is what Haley Van Lith had to say about that exact moment.
Caitlin Clark did the "you can't see me" gesture. Yeah. It was against Louisville. Yeah. And it looked like it was directed towards you. Walk me through it from your vantage point with Caitlin Clark.
It was actually hilarious because right after the game, I texted her and I was like, the media is dumb. I'm sorry. You guys have they just make stuff up. And then they just put it all over the internet and everyone thinks it's true. It's just hilarious. We were laughing about it because she did it to her strength coach. She didn't do it to anyone on our team, especially me. Definitely not towards me. She did it to her strength coach, and it wasn't even in a moment where I didn't even see it in the game. I was probably, dribbling the ball up the court after she just hit a three in our face. So, it's just funny how, camera angles and perceptions are skewed through the media, but it was hilarious. We laughed about it after.
Wrong. You
Oh my gosh. I don't even remember, I didn't even see it happen. So my perception, I don't even have one because I didn't even know it happened until I saw it over Instagram later. No.
I can't.
So first of all, I really want to know what that accent is. I was Wikipediaing her as this clip was playing behind the scenes. And I was expecting her to be from some country in Europe. With the last name Van Lith. I'm thinking is she Switzerlish or whatever it is? Swedish, Swiss, German, something, Austrian. Because she's got this accent where it's half European and half black, which would make perfect sense if she was from Europe. If she was born in Europe, came here when she was 8 with a slight accent, and then spent her entire school career and college up to this point playing in a majority black sport, she would have acquired an American black accent mixed with her Austria-Hungarian accent. And I was like, that's got to be what it is, right? She's got a black German accent. And then I looked it up. She was born in Washington State. What the hell are they speaking up there? I don't mind the accent. It's just interesting to me. That's not what I think of when I think of a Pacific Northwest accent. Maybe the Pacific Northwest of fucking Norway. But anyway, that literally has nothing to do with what we're talking about. What we're talking about is Haley Van Lith herself, who I guess is personal friends with Caitlin Clark on some level. Again, I saw somewhere that they were roommates at one point. She texted her, so they have each other's number. Okay, cool. And when asked about this in person, she's like, yeah, that was literally to her strength and conditioning coach. It wasn't even directed at me. I didn't even see it. But just the way the camera angles are lined up, the media took this and ran with it. Surprise, surprise. Is anybody shocked by this, by the way? Hold on one second. Let me take a moment to regain my composure. So you're saying the media took something out of context with selective camera angles and tried to spin a narrative about a situation that helped their talking points. Can you repeat that for me, sir? Because I don't think I caught that. You couldn't have possibly just said that the media purposely took something out of context and spun their own narrative to mislead you toward a conclusion that is not accurate. You heard it here first, folks. But that is what Haley Van Lith is saying. So there we have that situation with Caitlin Clark. Her alleged taunting. And this primarily was what was used to justify Angel Reese's conduct after the 2023 Women's College Basketball Finals, which LSU won, Angel Reese's team won, against Caitlin Clark. And I'm going to play you this clip. And you know why I'm going to play you this clip? Not just because it's the best footage of it, with the best angle and everything, but also you have two other famous WNBA players, Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi, who are live commentating on this game, I guess, during the broadcast at the time it happened. And of course, this is in the moment. This is before the story makes national news and this whole conversation about whether or not this was over the line and that the blowback is racially motivated because you have a white girl, Caitlin Clark, doing it, nobody cares. And you have a black girl, Angel Reese, doing it, everybody says it's just unsportsmanlike and whatever. So this is before that whole conversation got to basically taint your immediate opinion and your immediate reaction to seeing what is right in front of your eyes. And so I want you to listen what they say in the moment.
Like Enrique said, with all the transfers, they lost
so that's
in the
initial
tournament,
one.
And they were up in that game, in that semifinal game.
She's pointing at her ring.
Angel Reese has something about her.
Her personality, contagious.
And she's doing that. She's doing the "you can't see me" directly at Caitlin Clark. So that's the first one, right? That's the first one. And it's not done. That's usually what you see. That's usually what you see. That's the first instance of that. She's right in front of Caitlin Clark, pointing at her ring. You know, we're going to win the championship ring, whatever. And then she's standing at it next to her again and just mocking her stupid "you can't see me" thing right in front of her face, directly at her. No debating. There's no debating that it was directly at her. It's right next to her, looking at her, staring her down, doing this, doing her gesture that she's known for at her in an effort to mock her. So right off the bat, it's different. Do I think this is crazy? You know, you just never want to see this. No, I don't. Do I think that? No. But immediately off the bat, you understand that there's a difference between somebody just sinking a three and just kind of like doing a hand gesture at their strength and conditioning coach being like, "We're killing it today, baby." And then the media going, "That was obviously at that girl." And then that girl coming out and saying, "No, it wasn't. I didn't even see it. I'm pretty like, we're friends. I texted her after the game and was like, sorry, they're saying all this about you because that's not what happened." So there's that. And then you have this where you see blatantly with your own eyes Angel Reese doing this. But again, this isn't the end. So in that moment, Diana Taurasi is like, ha ha ha. She's feeling it right now. Like, you know, like whatever. They're pumped up. She's about to win the championship. Good for her. Oh, she's hitting her with this. Oh, wow, blah, blah, blah. So that's the initial. But watch as this film goes on.
Hey, why not?
Hey, listen.
Hey, why not? If you
dish
earned
it, you got to be able to take it. That's actually why I don't dish it. I can't take it.
Because you got to take it too.
Yeah, you got to take it.
And you got to take it with a smile. You know, like
underdog mentality.
So here's the end of the game.
All right, you did it once.
Look at
that's going overboard.
Okay, so now she's saying that's going overboard, and it's hard to see, but I'm going to show you what to pay attention to here. So here's Angel Reese right here, number 10. And watch, so there she's doing it again. Now she's doing it again, right in Caitlin Clark's face. So she's doing it again. And she's following her around. Now she's following her around. Watch, follow the mouse. Following her around, looking at her again, turning around again, following her around the court. Still doing it, now pointing at the championship ring. And that's after she already did it the first time. And you can even hear.
You did it once.
You did it once.
Look at
that's going overboard.
That's overboard. So you watch that whole sequence. She's following her around the court for the final 9 seconds of the game. It's good that we have a clock right there to watch it. For the final 9 seconds of the game, she is following Caitlin Clark around the court after Caitlin Clark's team has just lost the national championship. Obviously an emotional moment. And instead of being gracious and being like, hey, good game, we're both very high profile, respected players. Like, okay, we understand talking trash in the middle of the game, but not like you've won the game. Now's the time to be gracious and respectful and all that. No. For the final 10 seconds of the game, Angel Reese is following Caitlin Clark around the court, getting in her face like this, ha, 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 pointing at the championship ring. And even the commentators are like, all right, you did it once, great, but now you've crossed the line. You're going overboard now. This is too much. That's what they said then. Again, I would be very interested to know what she has to say about it if you were to ask her today. I don't actually know. I don't really know this woman well. They seem like very cool, nice ladies. And they seem like they probably keep it real. So she'd probably have the same opinion, which would be dope. But also the amount of public pressure to feel a certain way about it now that it's been politicized and everything else, I'm interested to see how someone's view would change from their initial reaction. But so right there, it is obviously different. There is no debating that. There is no debating that. And if you watch Caitlin Clark's response to this is from the 2023 National Championship postgame. This is right after that incident we just watched.
Caitlin, can you tell us at the end of the game what happened? There's a lot blown up on Twitter about Angel Reese following you around, pointing to her ring finger and taunting you.
Honestly, I have no idea. I was just trying to get to the handshake line and shake hands and, be grateful that my team was in that position. That's all you can do is, hold your head high, be proud of what you did, and, all the credit in the world to LSU. They were tremendous. They deserve it. They had a tremendous season. Kim Mulkey coached them so well. She's one of the best basketball coaches of all time, and it shows. And she only said really kind things to me in the handshake line, so I'm very grateful for that too. But honestly, I have no idea, and I was just trying to, spend the last few moments on the court with, especially the 5 people that I've started 93 games with, and relishing every second of that.
I don't think Angel should be criticized at all. No matter which way it goes, she should never be criticized for what she did.
Let's compare that to a post-game interview. This appears to be a post-game interview. Looks like, they're all still wearing the championship hats. They're on the ESPN panel, it would appear. This is Angel Reese responding to that very same incident.
At what point were you waiting to pull out this? This kind of the Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark is a hell of a
incredible
player for sure. But I don't take disrespect lightly. And she disrespected Alexis and my girls. South Carolina, they still my SEC girls too. Y'all not gonna disrespect them either. So I wanted to pick her pocket, but I had a moment at the end of the game, and I was in my bag. I was in my moment. Yeah.
So the victor goes spoiled.
All right. So she opens up with the Caitlin Clark's a great player. And then immediately goes into like, she disrespected this girl. She did this thing, blah, 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 blah. I was trying to pick her pocket, as she puts it. And, I was in my bag. There's a very clear difference here, guys, in the approach to this rivalry. There's a very clear difference. And anyone who doesn't want to acknowledge that is lying to you and themselves. There's a difference. I would love for someone to find me a video of Caitlin Clark in a post-game, not on the court footage of her talking shit about other players or saying things that escalate the tension rather than deflate it. When Caitlin Clark says in a post-game interview, look, I didn't even pay attention to that. I didn't even notice it. She won. They're a great team, whatever. Versus when Angel Reese, after winning the championship with her team in 2023, going on there and being like, oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Because, yeah, she did disrespect this person. She did do that. And it's like, why are you like, okay, look, even if we want to just accept it, like, okay, look, hey, you just had a little moment on the court. Leave it at that. Leave it at that. Just say, look, I was in my bag. I was stoked, but all congratulations and respect to the Iowa team. No, she was like, oh, I'm glad you asked. Let me talk more about why I felt that way. Let me talk about how Caitlin Clark was disrespectful to this person in a school, in a conference that I don't like, whatever. And I'm not saying that Caitlin Clark isn't a competitor. She's obviously a competitor. She obviously will talk some smack on the court. There's plenty of videos of her doing, the you can't see me and like pumping up the crowd and even talking to individual players. But that's on the court. And it's not drawn out, and it's not to the point where it's blatantly in your face, like following you around the court. It's not to that level. If you can find me a video of that, great. If you can find me a video of Caitlin Clark singling one player out and following her around the court, mocking her to her face, great. If you can find me this, which I think is even harder, if you can find me a video of Caitlin Clark saying things in a post-game interview or completely off the court setting, like a podcast or whatever, where she is saying things that escalate the tension rather than deflate it, where she's saying things like, oh no, Angel Reese, yeah, like, you know how I feel about her, like blah, 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 as opposed to just being like, look, they're a great team, more power to them. Like you say what you say on the court, but then off the court, you're respectful. If you can find me a video where she's not like that, that's great. But until then, it is dishonest. It is just blatantly dishonest to pretend that these two women are carrying themselves with the same demeanor, the same level of respect, the same level of regard, and that the only reason people have an issue with what Angel Reese did is because she's black, and Caitlin Clark, because she's white, is infallible and the darling of women's sports and whatever. That's bullshit. It's bullshit. And they told you that all last year. It was this big debate. It's just a racial double standard. And then just last week, actually, now that they're in the WNBA, Angel Reese is on the Chicago Sky with Chennedy Carter. Caitlin Clark, again, is on the Indiana Fever. And this tweet came out May 24th, 2024. The date is on here. I don't think it's up there anymore because I actually went to Angel Reese's Twitter and I didn't see it. So she may have since deleted this tweet, which further solidifies that it was exactly what we thought it was. And this is her basically sneak dissing Caitlin Clark for like no reason, seemingly. What? At this time in the season, a couple weeks ago, I don't believe Caitlin Clark's team had a single win yet. And then Angel Reese tweets out, and that's on getting a win in a packed area. I think she meant arena. Not just because of one player on our charter flight. Kissy face, winky face emoji. Okay, so that's a obvious subtweet or sneak diss that is obviously aimed at Caitlin Clark, saying that's on getting a capital win. Like, hey, look, my team actually has a win. Your team doesn't. And just in case you're not sure who I'm aiming this at, without saying their name, let's just say we were in a packed arena, not just because of one player on our charter flight. So Caitlin Clark's team is taking charter flights and their arenas are packed because of primarily Caitlin Clark. And so Angel Reese is taking a shot at all of that. The fact that Caitlin Clark's team hasn't had a win yet this season, the fact that the only reason anybody goes to their games is to see her and not the whole team, and Angel Reese's team, that's not the case. And so this is a year after the fact, guys. Now, mind you, Iowa, Caitlin Clark's team this year beat Angel Reese's team in the college tournament in the Elite Eight. So Caitlin Clark did, so to speak, have her revenge. This year, Iowa knocked out Angel Reese's team. Angel Reese was very emotional about that. Iowa went to the championships and wound up losing again, unfortunately. For her to go to the championship 2 years in a row and lose. But regardless, this rivalry is a back and forth thing where most recently Caitlin Clark has the W. And that game had a ton of viewership. I was returning my cable router or whatever. I was just moving out of my apartment at the time at the end of March. And I saw it in the AT&T store on the TV as I was returning it. And I immediately drove back to the studio. I was like, oh shit, I forgot about this game. Popped it on and watched it. And That's saying something. Like, everyone was invested in this rivalry. Everyone wanted to see this game. But I don't believe there was any major moments in that game that stood out to kind of elevate the rivalry or the controversy. But then a year after the fact, Angel Reese says this. Why? And then the fact that she has since deleted it, from what I can tell, it's not there anymore. So I don't know why I don't see it on her Twitter. I checked May 23rd through 25th. I didn't see this. This came out on May 24th, 2024. So I don't see it. So, okay, yeah. She obviously meant what everyone thought she meant. And again, this is a year after that debacle. This is a year after that controversy. And all those people that told me, dude, just admit it. It's a racist double standard. The only reason anybody's saying this about Angel Reese is because she's black. And when a black woman does the exact same thing as a white woman, the public sees it in an entirely different light. It's totally fine if Caitlin Clark does stuff like this, but it just is what it is, dude. Just admit it. It's so in your face. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, first of all, it's not so in your face. It's actually so in your face that it's not the same thing. It's literally as in your face as Angel Reese was with what she did, which is follow someone around the court, continue to talk about it that way after the fact. And then a year later, when everybody's sitting there with their smug little I'm not racist smiles on their face, see, remember when all those guys tried to say it was the same, they're so racist. And then Angel Reese is like, hold up, let me make it even harder for you to defend your point by still adding on to this, by still sneak dissing Caitlin Clark for no fucking reason. Find me the tweet where Caitlin Clark is subtweeting Angel Reese. Find me the podcast where Caitlin Clark is adding fuel to the fire of the rivalry, talking about why there's tension. Oh, she disrespected this player on my team, blah, blah, blah. Find me that. Internet, you're good at that. Go find me that. Find me the clip, again, of Caitlin Clark chasing someone around the court, getting in their face, blatantly mocking them and flexing her ring. Show me that clip. And I don't mean a clip of Caitlin Clark making a three and being like, I mean a clip of what we saw with Angel Reese to the point where even the commentators were like, all right, this is overboard. Find me that clip. If you are so sure that this entire thing is simply a racist double standard, then it should be very easy for you to find footage, real footage of Caitlin Clark acting and saying the same exact things and handling it the same exact way as Angel Reese. You should be able to find that fairly easily, but I can't. I haven't seen a single video where Caitlin Clark has been anything but humble and dismissive of the entire drama in general. It's different, guys, and I'm not saying that this is like horrible and egregious. I'm saying what's horrible and egregious is the gaslighting that's going on. Till next time, folks. My name is Jimmy Selesky. New content on the channel every Monday through Friday. This is live from the studio. Hit the subscribe button. Leave us a like. Leave us a comment. Peace.